Okay, it's noon, so I'm going to get started. Hello and welcome to everyone who's joined us. I'm Louisa Holmes. I'm an associate professor of geography here and demography as well. And I'm the grad admissions chair. And I have several people joining me as well who are going to participate in this conversation. And I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. So I'm going to start with Danny.
Thank you, Louisa. Hi, everybody. It's so nice to see such a big turnout. My name is Danny Ayalo. I'm an assistant professor here in geography. And I'm also the chair of the graduate recruitment committee this year. Looking forward to this conversation. I'll pass it. Do you want me to pass it along, Louisa? I'll pass it to Lorraine.
Hi, I'm Lorraine Dowler, and I am a professor in the area of human geography, but my focus there is more in political and gender geographies. Thanks.
And finally, hi, I'm Dr. Helen Greatrex. I'm an assistant professor here in geography as well, and I'm split between the Department of Geography and the Department of Statistics. And yeah, it's exciting to see so many people here.
Great. And I believe Bronwyn Powell, who is the graduate associate head, will be joining us at some point. And sorry to put you on the spot, Mackenzie, but did you want to say hello?
Hi, my name is Mackenzie Goss, and I am the graduate program coordinator here in geography. So administrative questions and all things paperwork is what I do.
Louisa, you're muted right now.
Thank you. So yes, so I'm going to go ahead and just start going through some slides about our program, talk a bit about geography here as well as Penn State in general, the graduate application and admissions process. And then I have a number of commonly asked questions, many of them derived from the questions that you all asked in the registration form when signing up for this. And if you have any additional questions that we don't get to, Helen is going to be answering Q&A, so you can enter those in the Q&A for the webinar. And then, of course, you can contact us on via email anytime after this. Sorry, one bit of business. Helen, can you help Bronwyn get into the webinar?
Absolutely. I will do that now.
Okay. Okay. So, whoops, let me get rid of this. Okay, so I want to start just with our degree programs, as I would imagine that's partly what you're interested in. And so we have 3 graduate degree programs for our residence program, And what I mean by in residence is that you do your degree here at Penn State. We also have an online set of online geospatial degrees, but those are not what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about our residence in residence program, excuse me. So we have a Master of Science, which we fund for 2 years if you're accepted into that program. We have the PhD program, which is fully funded for 4 years, and a 5-year combined MS and PhD program, which is funded for 5 years. Just to give you some insight into our 4 subfields, as well as some of the students that we currently have in these programs. We have 4 subfields: human geography, nature society geography, cartography and GIS, and physical geography. Those subfields are for organizing our department and our admissions and that kind of thing. We all work together, though, across those subfields pretty closely. And so we also have some dual title degree programs that I'm going to be talking a little bit about. But you can see that we have students in the PhD program, the 5-year program. I don't have an MS student here. I'm not sure we have a MS student that was admitted recently. But our students have all sorts of different sort of topical research areas and methodological backgrounds, and have been pretty successful in getting grants. When you get a grant because your program is funded, that just means that you can fund yourself, and so you wouldn't have to do a teaching assistantship or research assistantship for the amount of time that you're funded through an award like the Finest grant or the GRFP. This is just from a survey I did of our enrolled grads last year to get a sense of what they like about our program and what they would have liked to have known before being admitted here, that kind of thing. So the question I asked them for this was, now that you're enrolled in Penn State Geography, please share the things about the program, department, university, or state college that you would want a potential applicant to know. And so you can see that one of the things we pride ourselves on is that our faculty are very active, engaging with our students. We come into the office. State College is not a big place, so we're not out and about in the city all of the time, but we do come into the office regularly, and we meet with our students on a regular basis. We interact with our students, whether they're our advisees or not, and we have a pretty active engagement just across both the student cohorts as well as the faculty. Another thing people noted that they appreciated, which is one of the reasons I came here as well, is that Penn State and Penn State Geography are very interdisciplinary in their approach to research. Penn State and the Department of Geography, we both fund interdisciplinary work. So it's easy to say you're interdisciplinary. It's different to actually support interdisciplinary research very actively with funding and other organizational resources, and Penn State does that very well. As does our geography department. As I said, we have people doing all kinds of different research across various spectra and methodologies. And we try to be welcoming, and fortunately, some of our students felt that that was working. There's a lot of opportunity for collaborative research, to work with different faculty, whether they're on your committee or not, that kind of thing. So just to give you a sense of what our current students have said. Danny, do you want to talk about recruiting?
Yes, for sure. Like Louisa was just saying, I think one of the biggest strengths of Penn State Geography is our faculty. There's very few research university departments, I think, that possess the breadth and the depth across all kind of the sub areas of geography that ours does. And so that makes it a real strength, especially for students who want to be working across subdisciplines. So more recently on our faculty web pages and bios, we have been featuring recruitment information for those faculty members who are seeking new students that highlights the themes and the topics that they're looking to recruit for. So on this slide, we're featuring just 3, but if you go to the website, you can have a look at everybody's. So Mark Ortiz and Belén Oronia are newer hires in the department. Mark is especially interested in students with environmental or climate justice or climate policy interests, students whose work might be focused on youth and community-based participatory methods. Belén's work is centered on feminist political ecology in Latin America, and so she's looking for students who may be doing work in oil and gas extraction, anything to do with the Amazon and indigenous peoples, indigenous environmental monitoring, and also indigenous cartographies, which is a specialty area for her. Guido Cervone is a more senior faculty member that currently directs the Institute for Computational and Data Sciences. And he's actively seeking students right now that have a focus on geospatial programming, remote sensing, natural hazards, and so on. And so having a look at our webpage bios and the specific interests of faculty members with respect to recruitment does give you an idea of who you might share interests with. And we posted here all of the different areas of social media where you can follow the department and keep tabs on what we're up to. Thanks.
Thank you. And this link here to our recruitment page on our website does show the faculty that are currently recruiting students and their specialty areas in which they're looking for student interest. Lorraine, did you want to talk about our research clusters?
Thank you. Yeah, I was really excited when Louisa assigned this slide to me because, you know, this was kind of trying to map our department. And as you've already heard that, you know, it has a lot of depth, but it also has a lot of breadth too, which is pretty unusual. And we start this, if you look at building a resilient and just world, right? So our department is very much interested in issues of justice. And by what I mean by that is that it's real world pressing interest, right? And so, and that's what really adds to this kind of interdisciplinarity within the department. And you can just see here, we do have, of course, robustly represent the four traditional areas. But what happens is we start crossing over into these research clusters of food security, justice, ethics and diversity, environmental change and prediction. And I think that, so for me, I came here out of grad school and I've stayed 28 years exactly because of this. And what's really wonderful about this is these clusters also reach outside the department too. And I think Louise is going to talk about the dual degree programs in a second, but we have 4 of those. And we also have strong relationships, I'd say very strong relationships. Many of our faculty are in some kind of administration position with the institutes on campus, right? So if you think about this at scale, we do this in the department, but we also do this across the university. The department has always been held in strong regard at the university. And so it's given us a strength that we tend to get invited to a lot of academic parties. And by that, I mean different types of teams, so you'll find our faculty are working with each other, so I'm working with graduate students in GIS, as well as graduate students who are working on environmental issues. And so I'm learning a lot on, for example, indigenous methodologies. We're also innovators in terms of theory as well as methodology in this department. So often I'll be walking down, the hallway to Anthony to ask him a question because one of my students might want to do something with cartography, So I can't stress enough that, if you look at this map, I don't want you to think it's overwhelming. I think we do a really good job of being able to give you that depth of a geography degree, but also give you that interdisciplinarity that's really, really important today if you're studying these pressing issues.
Yeah, thank you very much. So has Bronwyn joined us?
I am here. Hi.
Okay. Hi. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and then talk about this?
Yeah, so my name's Bronwyn Powell. I'm an associate professor of geography, African studies, and anthropology, and the interim associate head for residential graduate programs. So many of our students do dual degrees. The last I calculated, it was almost half of our students are doing a dual degree or a minor. The dual degrees that our students are currently pursuing include a dual degree in African studies, a dual degree in climate science. There's a transdisciplinary research on environment and society program that one of our faculty members, Erica Smithwick, has been instrumental in designing and reinvigorating. But not just her students, many of our students take that dual degree, and it is across many departments, as is the climate science. It's an interdepartment, intercollege dual degree. African studies is just within the African studies program. There's also a dual degree in women, gender, and sexuality studies that similarly is a dual degree between geography and that department. And then some of our students also take a demography minor. We do have a dual degree in operations research, but I don't think any of our current students are pursuing that one. Thanks, Louisa.
Yeah, and there was one question that somebody had entered in their registration form about a dual title in demography. So just to explain that the reason it's a minor and not a dual title is it's something we've talked about and have considered over the years, and there may be a dual title at some point. Right now, I myself and Chris Fowler are the two demographers in our department. And so we serve on a lot of demography committees and work in the Population Research Institute. But because there's only two of us, it's difficult to do a dual title with geography, although again, we have considered it and may implement it at some time in the future, but the minor right now is what we offer. One of my students is doing it currently. Okay, to continue what Lorraine was talking about, there's a lot of breadth and interdisciplinarity and interdisciplinary expertise in our department. This is a diagram that Cindy Brewer, one of our faculty, put together a couple of years ago, just to demonstrate how much sort of engagement our faculty have with various research institutes and departments and programs on campus. And so OGE is the online geospatial education program that I mentioned earlier. So we have a number of teaching and research faculty in that program. That's in the green in the upper left. And then the rest of us, many of us are co-hired by geography and one of the research institutes on campus, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. For example, I am co-funded by the Social Science Research Institute, an affiliate faculty of the Population Research Institute, which is part of SSRI. And some of the other faculty are part of Rock Ethics. Lorraine helped to found the Women's and Gender Studies program. So Bronwyn mentioned she's an anthropology faculty member as well. So Guido Cervone runs ICDS, the Institute for Computational and Data Science, as Danny mentioned. So we really have a lot of penetration all over this campus, which is the main campus, as well as other campuses like the medical school in Hershey. And so that gives our students a lot of different opportunities to engage on a lot of different topics, as well as various funding and research opportunities. And I think that's one of the great strengths of not only our department, but of Penn State as well. So to talk a bit more about the research institutes, there are a number of research institutes at Penn State. The Cancer Institute, which is at the Hershey Medical School campus, but I'm a member of the Cancer Institute, so is Zhenlong Li, one of our faculty. We have a great relationship with the Dutton Institute for Teaching and Learning Excellence. Several of our faculty are either co-funded or fellows of the Earth and Environmental Systems Institute. As I mentioned, one of our faculty runs ICDS. Another one, Cindy Brewer, is an associate dean in that institute, and several of our other faculty are co-funded by it. Same for the Institute of Energy and the Environment. I mentioned that Chris Fowler and I are both affiliated faculty of PRI, as are, I think, our department head and a couple of other faculty. Josh Inwood and possibly other faculty are affiliates of the Rock Ethics Institute, and then several of us, myself, Mark Ortiz, others that I can't think of right now, but several of us are co-funded by the Social Science Research Institute. And what that means effectively, again, is that we're involved in those institutes, that we have opportunities for funding and research support through those institutes, and that helps our students as well, who also have sort of those opportunities as related to us. Lorraine, did you want to talk about interdepartmental collaboration?
You're muted, Lorraine. I'm sorry.
You would think I would know how to do this after, after so many
I made
years.
the same
of doing this,
mistake.
It's just, so yeah, so we have lots of interdepartmental collaboration. You can see here all the different programs, but I think what's really important to say about this is we have a robust number of faculty who are working in these collaborations, right? So it's not just one, right? So we have, so for example, the one I'm most familiar with obviously is Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies, where Melissa Wright and myself are part of, but we also have other feminist scholars here in geography, right, that participate in events there. And the same thing if I go through Erica Smithwick with ecology, the School of International Affairs. Oh my God, there's so many of us. I think there's 5 of us that have courtesy appointments there also. Statistics, you know, Helen is sitting right here, you know, and I believe Erica also has a relationship with Eberly College of Science, and you know we just talked about demography with Louisa and Chris, Bronwyn with anthropology and African studies also, and Josh with African American studies. So this, but what I want to stress is this is not just one, but you know, so for example, I'm working with a student right now, an undergraduate who's very interested in trans studies. And I was able to send them to talk to 5 faculty across campus that are located in all different places here. And so it's just a very robust way to be able to think about your own research, because there's just so many hands on deck that can do it beyond the faculty here. But having said that, I do want to stress that, you know, this is, and I think Louisa did a beautiful job talking about this in the beginning. This is a department that you can knock on any door, you know, any door of faculty. And, you know, we may not be on a committee, but we'll sit and talk to you and give you some advice and maybe give you things to read that you're interested in. So, you know, there are some departments that are very silo, right? You work with your advisor and then you might span out a little bit to your committee. Like we really, you know, we all work together. And I think, you know, I like Louisa's analysis of, well, we live in a small town, so we, you know, we're all we have, right? And so, but that's the beauty of it, you know, so we get to know not only the department and our expertise, but, you know, looking at all of these different interdepartmental collaborations. It's really fun and can be tiring at times, you know, because it's a lot going on, but it really makes us all, the grad students and as well as the faculty, much better scholars.
I agree. Thank you. And to continue sort of discussing our interdisciplinary knowledge in this department specifically, we cover just about any method you can imagine across our faculty. We really have strong methodological training among our faculty, and we do everything from environmental modeling to photo voice to GeoAI to remote sensing, lots of field research, lots of mixed methods. Storytelling. Mark has a storytelling lab. So we really do have very deep methodological expertise, which I think is a real value to our graduate students. And as Lorraine said, I get people coming to talk to me all the time whose committees I'm not on because of the kinds of methods that I use. And I'm always happy to help because I love methods. And so I'll talk to anyone about them. I'm teaching a seminar on spatial mixed methods right now. That the students have been really engaged in. So we really have a lot of strength, whatever methodological sort of approaches you can think of. And I think we're also very innovative with regard to our methods across different fields and subfields. So this is a little word cloud that I made to emphasize some of our stronger approaches, but you can see that it's really, there's a lot of small writing in there as well, because we just have a lot of breadth when it comes to this. Oh, this is me. So we also have really successful alumni. So our graduate alumni are leading exceptional careers across all sectors, academia as well as NGOs and business and city planning and all sorts of things. So these are some of our recent, except for Jamil, these are some of our recent graduates. So Jonathan Nelson did his PhD here. He's an assistant professor and the director of GIS programs at the University of Wisconsin, which also has a top geography program. Megan Bauman is currently the environmental health and safety manager at Chicago Housing Authority. She graduated a couple of years ago. Put Jamil up here because he's been a tremendous resource for us since he's graduated in 2011. He's currently the director of city planning for Pittsburgh, and so he's been just a tremendous resource for our students who are interested in urban research and doing field work or studies in Pittsburgh area. He also founded the Urban Kind Institute and directs that. And Julie Sanchez is one of our physical geography graduates. She's a postdoc at the NASA Jet Propulsion Lab and at Caltech. So our graduates really go on to do important work in a variety of different sectors. And we would expect that anyone who was admitted this year will have similar success. Okay, so that was to give you sort of an overview of our program, of our position within Penn State, of some of our strengths. And now we're going to go through some of the questions that you all asked in your registration forms and just questions we regularly get about our graduate program, so we can try to cover as many bases as possible. But you can, of course, take advantage of Helen right now, and also she has provided this QR code for you if you'd like to, and the tiny URL in case you have additional questions, whether we can get to them or not in the webinar, we will answer them.
Yep. And so just to add to that, in the webinar, we are typing furiously as fast as we can. And so I'm putting all of the answers to questions we answer in that doc as well. But if you have a question, it's worth first clicking on the answer tab at the top. You might find your questions already be answered, or looking for it at the Google Doc. But we are hoping to answer every single question. And hopefully, I think from what I've read, many of them are going to come up in the slides ahead.
Great. Thank you, Helen. Yeah, so I think the first sort of basic question people have is, what are the application requirements? And so for that, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but we have a very nice, the grad school here has a very nice page that details this quite well. So I suggest you visit that website if you have specific questions about how to apply. For our program, applications are due December 1st. We begin to send out offers in February, probably mid to late February. And then people who receive an offer from us have until April 15th to make their final decision. But earlier decisions are always very welcome because it helps us to organize things better and prepare for the coming year. So a common question I'm sure that Helen has already gotten quite a few times is, are application fee waivers available? We generally have a few. Oh, I'm sorry, Bronwyn, this was your slide.
It's
So
okay,
maybe
keep going. Keep going, it's fine. Tell me if
Okay,
you
well,
jump in.
Yeah, this one maybe you can jump in on, because I'm not sure how many.
So we have a quite limited number of fee waivers. Faculty members are allowed to request a fee member for a promising grad with whom they've had a conversation. So applicants cannot request the waiver. It must be a faculty member with whom they wish to work. And faculty members are only allowed one fee waiver request per year. So if you've had a fee waiver request, that would indicate that there's a faculty member who's excited to work with you. But you are free to request of any faculty member you've had a conversation with if they'd be willing to put in a request for a fee waiver for you. Do you want me to talk about timeline, or do you want to talk about timeline, Louisa?
No, you can go ahead. Yeah, thank you.
All right, so our application period is open. We have a hard deadline in December, but we strongly encourage everybody. Sorry, Louisa, you'd better do this, because
okay.
I think you know
fine.
this better than I do.
That's totally fine.
It's the letters that are due in December. You will do this better than I will.
Okay. Yeah, so as I mentioned, the applications are due December 1st. We won't accept any applications after December 1st. So please don't ask, or if you do, we'll just have to say, I'm afraid not. So December 1st is the hard deadline. Your letters of recommendation from your references are due by December 15th. So they do have 2 extra weeks to submit letters. But we strongly encourage you to ask now. The earlier we have them, the easier it is for us to review all the applications. But yeah, December 1st for applications, your applications, December 15th for letters of recommendation. And again, offers begin in February. You have until the national decision deadline, April 15th, to make a final decision, although you're very welcome to make it before that. For more details on application requirements, as I said, I really recommend you visit this site, which perhaps, Helen, you could link to in the Q&A. And we'll go from there. So how do we admit people? So this is also a common question people ask. And so we do it a little differently than some places, although we're implementing a new procedure this year. So the way it works is you submit your application. There's a graduate school application, which is the Penn State graduate school application that everyone has to submit. And then there's a geography program application. And it's all part of the same system online. So you don't have to submit go to 2 different places to submit your application. You'll get through the graduate school application. It will automatically take you to the geography program application. And so in the application, there is a place to indicate up to 3 people you'd like to work with as your potential advisor. I strongly encourage you to fill out at least 2 of those drop-down boxes. That's part of the way that we organize application review. And if you don't enter anything, then that's going to make it more difficult for us to adequately review your application for the subfield you might be interested in. So please do put at least 1 person as a potential advisor, and preferably 2 or 3. The more you put, the more eyes will be on it, actually. So make sure to identify those people and enter them in the application. Whether you've talked to them or not, if it's just someone you're interested in working with, you can put their name in the application. So once the application deadline passes, we have a graduate admissions committee, of which I'm the chair. And the other 4 people on the committee are representatives of each of our subfields: human geography, physical geography, GIS cartography, and environment society geography. So we have 1 faculty member from each of the subfields on the committee. We will ask the entire faculty to look at the applications that have indicated them as one of the potential advisors. They'll do a preliminary review of applications and say, yes, I want to work with this person. Yes, I've talked to this person. And then they'll send that information to us, the Graduate Admissions Committee. We will then review all of the applications and essentially rank them. And then we'll have a conversation about our rankings and make sure that everyone is well represented. We will share that information with the entire faculty, and they'll again have an opportunity to weigh in. This is why it's really important to try to speak with a faculty member you're interested in working with, because they're more likely to remember you and also advocate for you if you've spoken with them and you have found that it might be a good working relationship. And then once we've done those several iterations of review of the applications, we have a full faculty meeting and we decide on initial offers. And then we'll send out emails to people who get those initial offers. So that's essentially how the process works. Some places you speak to a faculty member, they have funding and they decide to admit you. That's not how our department works. We do it as a faculty. And so it's a little different in that regard. Again, you should still try to speak with the person you're interested in working with. But it's not one person's decision. It's a department decision. And ultimately, Bronwyn and our department head and myself will discuss and make final decisions based on a variety of things, not just the applications, but also who's recruiting students this year, who hasn't admitted a student recently, We tend to prioritize the pre-tenure faculty members. So there are a lot of other considerations that have nothing to do with the strength of your application, honestly, that are distributional from our department standpoint. And so if you don't get an offer, it doesn't mean you're not a great candidate. It just means we fund everyone we admit, and we only have so much funding. Does anyone else have anything to add about that? Okay. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, with that, just to say, lots of the questions were like, what do you mean we fund everyone we admit? We fund everyone often by teaching assistantships or general assistantships. So we don't mean we have like a scholarship or a fellowship or something like that, but any student who's admitted, we cover, well, we fund them. So
yes. Yeah, thank you, which anticipates the next slide, which is what kind of funding is available. So that's perfect. Yeah, so we don't admit people we can't fund. So if you are admitted to the PhD program, the 4-year PhD program, you will be fully funded for 4 years. And that may be through research assistantship, that may be through teaching assistantship. But you will be funded, and that means your stipend and your tuition will be funded. For the MS PhD program, we fund for 5 years. For the MS program, we fund for the 2 years of the MS. And so if it takes more than 4 years to do a PhD, like it often does, then the 5th year is not guaranteed. But for the 4 years of the PhD, 5 years of the MS plus PhD, and 2 years of the MS, we don't admit people unless we can fund them for that period of time. And so sometimes your advisor may have research funding and can give you a research assistantship. And so then you would do 20 hours a week of research for your advisor or for another faculty member, and that will account for your tuition and your stipend. Otherwise, we will assign you to a teaching assistantship, and that's also a 20-hour-a-week position, and that will fund your tuition and stipend. So, but yes, we do fund our students when we admit them for those periods of time. We also do have fellowships, not in the department, but at the graduate school, that sometimes our students have been pretty successful sometimes in getting. And so there are a couple of fellowships that the graduate school offers. We, I think, got 2 of them for our students this year, and those account for an increased stipend on top of what we would provide, as well as sometimes a year or 2 off of teaching and research. And then there are also a few other fellowships or awards that are not, that don't increase your stipend, but that would provide you with a one-time sort of top up of $5,000 or something like that. And so that's from the graduate school, but our department does fund every student that is admitted for the 4 years, the 5 years, and the 2 years, depending on the graduate program.
Louisa, we should say that we do also, in unique circumstances, admit students who come with their own funding. For example, if their employer or national government has a scholarship and is willing to provide that funding, guarantee that funding, then we do have some students who come with their own funding. And that certainly helps us accept more strong students and increases the competitiveness of those students in our pool.
Thank you. Okay, so this might be another, Bronwyn, sorry.
Yeah.
Keep stepping on your.
No, that's fine. So we do have an English language proficiency requirement. TOEFL or other English language testings are accepted. The TOEFL is getting changed this year, and so exactly what the cutoff is under discussion at the university and the graduate school right now. But Historically, it was 80 points, I believe, on the TOEFL exam. If you are at an US-based institution right now, you do not need to do that testing. There is a list of countries from which students need to test and students don't. We have pushed the graduate school to adjust that list so that countries where English is the primary language of instruction are fully accounted for on that list. And there is a way to test out through the graduate school. So if you're interested in that, you can ask me or Mackenzie, our grad admin person. I believe this language requirement is only required after you receive acceptance. I don't believe it's considered in your as part of your application process. So you can inquire if you receive an offer from us, you can inquire about testing out of that language requirement. Is that, Louisa, this isn't included in the admissions process, is it?
No, yeah. So yeah, only after you receive an offer would this be an issue. Thank you. Okay. So one question we get a lot is, do you need to have a geography degree or background to apply to our programs? And the answer is no. My first geography training was in my PhD program. So, and that was the case with several of us. Lorraine, I think you are similar in that regard. We are looking for people who have interests in the things that we do here in this department and that we have skill sets to support. But as I said, and as we covered earlier, we're a very interdisciplinary program. A lot of my training has been in public health and public policy, for example. And so I do health geography, but I have a lot of contacts and knowledge and training in those areas, as well as demography. And all of that set me up to be a good health geographer, but I did not have a geography degree before I started my PhD in geography. I just knew that geography was the right place for me, and then became educated in what it means to be a geographer. So we have a number of students who don't have geography degrees before coming to this program. We have several faculty who don't have geography degrees before coming to this program. We do expect that people who want to be in this program are interested in learning sort of the facets of geography, the theoretical sort of approaches we take, the various things that sort of make us a geography department and not another kind of department. But this is not a limitation that you have to concern yourself too much with. If you're way out of left field and you're not sure, you might want to talk to somebody about it. But for the most part, we're interdisciplinary, and so we expect that we will have interdisciplinary applicants as well who have a real interest in geography. Anybody else have anything they want to add to that?
Just quickly from the chat, we had a couple of questions about people who came from, say, a sociology background or like a very qualitative background who were wondering if they should apply even if they did never program before and things like that. And so I think the same thing that Louisa said applies the other way. Like, we don't expect, geography is so multidisciplinary, we don't expect you to come with every single skill. And we have very good qualitative faculty here in our department who also dislike things like programming. And we have lots of faculty who have no idea how to do qualitative work. And so think about so please still apply, basically, or talk with potential faculty about what you might be doing. You will be expected to learn some of these skills, like that's part of what we teach you, but we don't expect you to come in knowing how to do every single thing within geography because it's so big.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and many of us use different methods from each other because we do different things. So yeah, that's what collaboration, I mean, that's why I think we're good at collaborating. I just submitted a grant yesterday with a colleague of mine who does archival work, and another colleague of mine who does machine learning, and I do quantitative and geospatial and qualitative mixed methods work. So we really try to make up for those deficits by working together, which is part of the joy of being in this department, I think.
Louise, I would add on that slide that while we don't require a background in geography, that part of the assessment, when we read your narrative statements, part of what we're looking for is for students to clearly articulate why they want a graduate degree in geography. And if you can't tell us why geography, or we think you're applying to 8 other disciplines, then maybe you're not a great fit and your application may not be viewed as competitively as other applicants.
Yes, good point. Thank you. Okay, so this is another common question. What kind of transcripts are required for the application? You can see here, you just need official transcripts from your institution. If you're finishing a degree this spring and only have unofficial transcripts for the December 1st deadline, that's fine, because you can replace them once you get the transcripts. If you're accepted, then we will ask for official transcripts once you finish your spring term at whatever your institution is. So you can submit unofficial transcripts for spring if you're working through a degree program right now, but the rest would need to be official transcripts. Bronwyn.
Muting myself and unmuting myself. So international students, quite a number of our faculty are international, and quite a number of our graduate students are international. In fact, I think last year almost all of our new cohort of graduate students were international. So we are well accustomed to working with and supporting international students. Usually it's a mix of American and international students in our cohort. The application process looks the same. If you're from a particular country, you may have a few more hoops to jump through in terms of language and stuff like that. We are very aware and do our very best to get offers out to international folks as soon as we can, because we know that the visa process takes quite a bit of time, and that it takes longer for people of some nationalities than others. So it's our global programs that will manage your visa application and your immigration status with you. And our admin person for our graduate program, Mackenzie Goss, will work closely with you to make sure that you're working with global programs should you receive an offer. So the application is the same for everybody. Once you have your offer of acceptance, that's when we then have to start working on supporting your visa application, and acknowledging that it is more complicated these days than it used to be in the past. And so we're doing our very best to be ready to support students, to make sure that should a student get an offer, that their visa is not a limitation. So yeah, and if you have questions, I'm international, I'm Canadian. I'm happy to support other international graduate students and faculty coming here.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I touched on this earlier, so I'll just repeat again. It does help to contact faculty and potential advisors before applying. Even if you have one person you really want to work with, I would still suggest contacting other people who have interests that may be at least tangential, if not aligned with yours. the more faculty you reach out to, the better chance you have of getting a reply, because quite honestly, we get a lot of email from potential applicants as well as just in general. And so you may need to wait a little while for them to get back to you. You may need to send another email. That's okay. But do try to get in touch with faculty, or at least reach out to them. Don't use AI to write those emails is my recommendation to all of you, because we can tell, and it's not as urgent for us to reply to emails that are generic and that maybe cite papers we didn't actually write, which I have gotten a few of those this year. So please be intentional about your emails. And also, we don't have time to read 5 paragraphs in one email. So I really advise you to send short, succinct, but detailed emails to the faculty you're interested in talking to, so that they know what you're interested in, they know why you're interested in talking to and potentially working with them. And that's really all we need to know from the email. So just keep trying. If you haven't been able to get anyone to reply, at some point, hopefully you will. But you do want to try to speak to people before coming here, for your own sake, and also because it helps us when we're reviewing applications to understand who is applying and who might be wanting to work with us and that kind of thing. So yes, I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to indicate who you've spoken to and or who you'd like to work with in your personal statement. And again, to fill out the drop-down menus on the geography program application that asks you about that. So Danny, do you want to say anything more about connecting with people?
Yes. Oh man, I've been typing furiously in the chat. So, I mean, we've already spoken a little bit about this. Connecting with your potential advisor ahead of time might be the most important and strategic step, especially in terms of finding the right fit. And so the timing, though, is also important. I often get students that ask me, when should I be sending this email? The answer is as early as possible, at least by September and October. I had emails back in May. By the time September rolled around, I'd already had 3 meetings with prospective students. And so as early as you can. Students also often want to know what to do if they don't get a response right away. A typical waiting period for responses can range anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks. It really depends on the faculty member. Please do keep in mind that we get an ungodly amount of email. So it's okay to send a follow-up if someone hasn't responded, in 1 or 2 weeks if you haven't heard back. But also how you approach those early connections is important. Take the time to research those faculty members ahead of time. Take the time to think about where you might have overlap and to what extent that person will be able to meaningfully supervise a project or topic like the one that you're interested in. And really be able to identify the why for why you think they would be able to support you. Also be prepared to indicate who else in the department could provide mentorship, because you're not just going to be working with one person. You're also going to work to build a committee of people with different expertise that kind of come together for your specific needs when you get here. And so having a sense of more than just the one potential advisor. And as Louise and others have mentioned, you do need to list 3 kind of sort of in descending order, I guess, on the application itself. Do ask for a short Zoom meeting, because speaking ahead of time can be really beneficial. Not everyone's going to have time for that, but it is good to ask. Because really the fit with your primary supervisor is extremely important in terms of ensuring, that you've got a really enriching experience at graduate school. I always have felt, I just think it's more important than the location of the university, than the supposed reputation of the school. Fit is really key. So one other thing that can be helpful as you connect with potential advisors is to think about yourself as a mentee, and also like what you're looking for in a mentor, what your needs are, right? Like, do you like to work really independently with not very many check-ins per semester? Are you looking for someone who's really hands-on that wants to meet frequently? Do you need support in terms of refining your theoretical interests? Or are you going to do certain methods, like community engaged scholarship, for example, which really kind of shapes your needs in a certain way? And so, or maybe you're a non-traditional student who has life and family circumstances that are going to shape your grad school path. So working to understand what your needs are going to be goes a really long way in making the most of those early conversations when you're initially connecting. I don't know if anybody else wants to add to that, but I think that's.
I would also encourage students to be ready to articulate that fit, not just to geography, but to specific faculty members in the department in their narrative statement,
Yes.
because fit matters. And you might be an amazing student, but if you don't have a clear fit in the department, that may shape our decisions in terms of admission. So, the same stuff you write in the email to a faculty member about why you think they're a fit can also go into your application letter.
Yeah.
And just to add to that.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to add to that really quickly to say, occasionally, sometimes a faculty member might not be able to reply to an email for some reason. It might go beyond those 2 weeks or things like that. If you are really excited about Penn State and you can see that you have that fit, especially across several faculty, and you can afford the application fee, you are still welcome to reply. And we will reach out to, there will be time if you're accepted to help find that space and that fit. But I'm sure it's that the faculty members will be reaching out to you. And so, but I think to add to what Bronwyn was saying with that is that if a faculty member hasn't replied to you, maybe think about them as being on more of your committee or someone that you're excited about working with. But if that's in your statement, that's another way to help find that. So really focus on in your statement, like, why are you excited to work with these people, where the links are. But for example, if a faculty member is ill or something like that, they might not be able to get back to everybody. So yeah, I think as Diava said, definitely reach out to us, and we're reaching out back to as many people as we can. But it's not a requirement, and your statement gets read by the committee, and your emails will get read by the supervisor or the person you're working with. So please put stuff in your committee and your statement as well.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you all. And just to underline the issue or the point about fit again, I said earlier that reach out to more than one faculty, even if there's one that you really want to work with, because you do have to form a committee. And one of the things we look at when we're reviewing applications is this person only a fit to the person they want to work with, or are there other faculty who could work with them and advise them, even if not specifically in X, Y, or Z research topic. So we do really look for fit in terms of not only advisor, but also are there other people in the department who could be good committee members or who could help you. Okay, so we're almost out of time, so I want to go quickly through this. Is there a required curriculum? Yes, but we have a pretty limited set of requirements. And so all grad students are required to take 2 classes, Geog 500 and Geography 502. 500 is sort of an introductory course to geography to get everyone on the same page about what geography is, who some of the important thinkers are, etc. 502 is basically a proposal writing class to help you write your dissertation proposal, as well as learning about academia and how to be an academic. So those are required. And then the additional requirements are that you have to take 1 grad seminar in your subfield and 1 outside of your subfield. And those are really the only requirements currently. You can take classes in other departments, you can take other seminars in our department. So just 2 required classes, and then the seminar in your subfield, seminar outside of your subfield. And We teach several seminars every semester, and those vary from semester to semester because the faculty who are teaching them vary from semester to semester, and it's really up to the faculty what they decide to teach. You can reach out to us more about that, but I'm going to move forward.
Can I just interject something for a second?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say, for those who might be interested in any of the dual degree programs, also look at what the required courses are in the other program too. They tend to also be low, but the combination sometimes can eat up all your electives. So just, you know, so just so you're not surprised, look at both programs and the required courses.
Yeah, that's a really good point because like the demography minor, for example, I think you have to take 4 or 5 classes. So that's a really good point. Okay, so how does the combined 5-year MS PhD program work and who should consider it? So this program is generally for people who don't yet have a master's degree. Typically anyone with a master's applies to the 4-year PhD program. This is an opportunity to essentially get both degrees in one program. And the way it works is that you have your first 2 years to complete your master's research and defend your master's thesis. And then you apply to the PhD program. And if you've successfully passed your master's thesis defense, then typically you will be accepted to the PhD program, and then you'll work on your PhD for the remaining 3 years of funding. So people who want more of that experience, both in the master's and the PhD, who are typically only have a BA or BS at the time, are usually the people that apply to this program and are accepted to this program. So, like I said, people with a master's typically will apply just to the PhD program. And some people only want a master's, and so they would apply to the MS program. I think this is, yeah, just about the last slide. So we talked a bit about this with respect to the reaching out to faculty members, but really what makes a strong candidate, what should you include in your personal statement? The first thing I'll say is this is not an undergraduate personal statement. So as much as we would certainly be interested in your background and your life, if you are accepted, that's not what you should write about so much in your personal statement for a PhD program or a master's program. What we want to know really in your personal statement for these graduate programs is what is your experience? What is your proposed trajectory? What kind of research you want to do? As Lorraine mentioned earlier, why geography and why Penn State geography? And who do you think will help you be successful in that in terms of the faculty here? So this is really more of a professional, personal narrative statement. I don't know what we should even call it, a personal statement. That doesn't mean like you have to cleanse it of any personal references, but really we're less focused on how your dog died when you were younger, not to be facetious, but and more interested in like, what are your plans for graduate school? What are your plans for your career? What are your reasons for wanting a PhD or master's in geography? Who are the people you have spoken to or who you've reached out to that you think would help you get to achieve those goals? So really, we're looking for sort of clear statements regarding those things, clear sort of delineation of your objectives and your goals and your interests in terms of research. And that doesn't mean that you have to know what your dissertation research is going to be yet. We don't expect that. We just want to know that you're interested in glaciology and you think Dr. Trussell can help you achieve that. And these are generally my interests related to climate change. And we just want to see that you have an idea so that when you're accepted and start the program, you can start strong, basically, right? We don't, you don't have a year or two to sort of decide what research area interests you, or what you're going to do for your life. We want to have a sense that you already have some idea of that, even if it's not concrete yet. Other people have comments?
Yes, and don't start your narrative statement with, I grew up really enchanted with maps.
Yes. Thank you.
We see that all the time, and it's not a home run, okay?
It's really not.
I can co-sign that. One thing to keep in mind, and this is true for not just graduate school applications, but for grants, for paper competitions. This is a group of faculty on the committee that are going to be evaluating well over 100 applications. And so you really want to be able to convey in that first paragraph the most key things that we need to know about you. And that's why you don't start with the background. It's not that background's not important, but it can come later. What we really need to know is who you're going to be when you come here, if that makes sense. You don't have to have your project all figured out. You don't need to know your research questions and all your methods and so on and so forth. But you do have to have a sense of what direction you're moving in and what it is you want to accomplish while you're here. And if you can convey that in a way that is very direct and compelling in that first paragraph, that makes for a stronger statement.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
to add to that, someone once told me, if you've ever seen the show like Shark Tank or like Lion's Den or things like that, where people are making business pitches or grant pitches, think of it like that. You're applying for a 3-year job with us, essentially, to work on these things. And so rather than thinking about it being a personal narrative of your life and things like that, think of it like a business case. You're applying, you're trying to gain the ability to work with us for 3 years on this topic. Make the pitch about why we should choose you over the other 100 applicants. That really helped me flip it around in my head. So
Yeah, I think all of that is great advice. And I would also add, using AI to largely help you craft your statement is a bad idea, because we can actually tell when things are written by AI. It tends to be very generic and vague, and that's not going to be a strong statement. So yeah, all of those things are important. Yeah, and that is what we have to share with you today. This video, there will be a link sent to you if you, because you registered for this webinar, you should get a link to this video once it's ready, shortly after the webinar, via the email that you signed up with. You can visit our website for more information on any of the things we've talked about. You can visit the Fox Graduate School website to learn more about how to apply in general. Our deadline is December 1st, December 15th for reference letters, and do some research on our faculty and reach out to the people you might be interested in speaking with, working with. And I think, we'll also post this video on our YouTube channel, and it should be available through our website as well. And please follow us on social media. Any last comments from anyone else?
Thanks for being here. We're looking forward to seeing your applications.
thanks.
Absolutely.
We will also put up the list of Q&As, hopefully with the recording, or they might be included with the Zoom. So